We are live right now. Want to talk to you about cracking the ceiling of your potential. I actually heard this saying from Mike Zeller when he was talking about mindset, and I don't know if he got it from somebody else. It doesn't really matter. Um, I feel like we all quote each other. No, no, they say there's nothing new under the sun, right? And it's that when he was speaking of mindset and how when you crack through your mindset barriers, that your old ceiling becomes your new floor. And so when I say crack through your ceiling, I'm not talking about all of your potential. I'm not talking about everything that there's available for you to grow on. I believe that we're on this infinite ascent, this journey of continual unfolding, unwrapping who we really are, stepping into greater levels of evolution of ourselves. But at every stage, there's a ceiling. There's a place that's unfolding. There's that caterpillar, a part of us that's becoming a butterfly, that we're looking to crack through and burst open so that we can give more of ourselves, so that we can impact more lives, so that we can have more influence. What's up, Dr. Justin Mosley in the house, baby, the mindset doctor? Shout out. What's up, Moolah? By the way, let me know where you're tuning in from. Okay, let me know where you're tuning in from. So I want to tell you a quick story about where in my past that this ceiling in my life was created, and it was in my childhood experience, more my teenage experience, and how that's been playing out in my life until like a week ago. And I cracked it open, and in sharing this story, I hope that you are able to identify and trace limiting beliefs or patterns, or um, um, not just beliefs, but just this perpetual cycle. Like if you ever feel like in some ways, in some areas of your life, that you have experienced the same problem in a different person, the same problem in a different situation, the same problem in a different circumstance. At the center of those different problems is the similarity of you. And so oftentimes it is the things that we need to work through in order to break the perpetual cycle in our life and to truly crack through our full potential. So here's the story. I was becoming really, really good in basketball, and I had the opportunity to work with Jason Richardson's personal trainer, one of his personal trainers that he worked with. This was, I believe, my freshman year in high school. Going into my sophomore year, there's a lot of promise. I was starting to get really, really good. And, I had played on junior varsity and then got upgraded to varsity towards the end of the season. There was a lot of promise. I was the talk of the town. I was starting to have these rankings. If you're from the Michigan area, you probably remember the AAU team, the Family, which was a team that a lot of professional athletes came out of. They were recruiting me, had other different prominent basketball clubs recruiting me. And somehow in the process of all of this kid may be the next big thing. I got to work with Jason Richardson's trainer. And one of the things that I was weak at a lot of things, was I was weak at dribbling. I was weak at consistent shooting, especially from the 3-point line. Like I had a little good mid-range game, but 3-pointers were not so much. And then I could not for the life of me dunk with my left hand or do any type of dunks with or layups from with the left side of my body. Like I was always missing layups, even though I was scoring all these points out, all these promises. Like, man, if I fix these things, I'll be good. And I always had these limiting beliefs around, man, I don't even know if I can dunk really well with my left hand, if I can be more of an ambidextrous player or whatever. Okay, and really take this ceiling that I'm telling you about, that these beliefs, and think about how that applies to you in your own life. Where in your life, if it's like, man, I I know that this is a possibility for me to have greater level of fulfillment in my relationships, to have greater level of cash flow in my business, to have greater level of impact in my speaking, but yet I have all of this belief and this struggle, and I've tried before to crack through, and I've done mindset action, I've done these things, but it hasn't really worked. That's kind of where I was at. It was like I had tried this, I had got coached, I tried to be consistent, and I just couldn't figure out how to get better with that left side of the body. So, long story short, within like 3 sessions of working with this coach, I was freaking cracked it. I remember hitting like 10 threes in a row from like different depths. Like I was like Steph Curry or something. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a sniper. Let's go. I'm for the drop 90. And then I dunked with my left hand. And then I could do like, I started to get more skill with my weak side. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And the dude, after our third practice, he sat me down. He said, listen, I work with a lot of athletes, and I don't say this to anybody. He said, I work with Jason Richardson, right? Which, for those of you who don't know who Jason Richardson is, he's a former NBA star. Okay. I think he won a dunk contest and he was definitely in the All-Star multiple times. Really great player. Don't know how his career finished out, but I know he was super good. And I love playing with him on the video game growing up because my mans could dunk over everybody. And he said, I've worked with him. And can I tell you that your natural raw athletic ability is far greater than his. And that's a huge statement because that dude was a monster athletically. And the moment he said that was the moment that I created a ceiling in my life because I could not see myself doing this level of performance consistently. I was so afraid that I would let him down. If he thought I was going to be better than Jason Richardson, I was a freshman in high school, and I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to be better than this NBA All-Star. Like, I'm still trying to get good with the left, bro. And because I didn't see what he saw, I self-sabotaged, and I literally I never did another workout with him. He texted me, I ignored him. Made up excuses to my parents about why I wasn't going to the practice anymore. I lied. I think I told him that he wasn't responding when really it was me that wasn't responding to him. And I completely self-sabotaged. And the problem is that pattern in my life played out all the way until last week. Like, literally, I remember being in college after I came back from my back injury and did all this stuff. And then the coaches were like, oh, dude, it's not a matter of if you're going to go to the NFL. It's only a matter of when you're going to go to the NFL. And I sabotaged. And all these times in my life where I had this opportunity to really crack my ceiling of my potential and step into an unfolding of the unknown of who I am and what I'm capable of doing, to do things beyond what I ever thought or even began to imagine, I would self-sabotage in some way. Even when I would get these prophetic words in church circles and they would say, oh, you're called to greatness, you're called to speak to the nations, you're called to do all of this stuff. And I would have an initial shout, dance, cry, scream moment. And then I would self-sabotage. I would shrink. I would not really share the things that there was for me to share in the way that there was for me to share them. I would coast. Okay. One of the ways that this showed up in my athletic career, because here's the thing about your potential. Okay. Only you and God know what your real potential are. Only you and God. Now, people might see potential in you, but they don't know the fullness of your potential. Only you and God really know that. You know what you're capable of. You know what's inside you. And yeah, it takes a special coach, a special person to see the depths of who you are to be able to bring greater levels of that out within you. And that's what I'm able to do because of the stories that I'm telling you, because of how I lived this myself. I developed this relationship with shrinking, even though there was so much potential, that I started to develop an eye and insight to be able to see that same pattern within other people. Asking my clients, they'll tell you, they'll try to hit the coast button because they're awesome, they're amazing, they're influencers, and I'm helping them turn the dial up because I understand what it's like to be extremely gifted at something, to have a great potential at something, and yet be afraid of if you could sustain that level of performance or those level of results, and therefore get into patterns of self-sabotage. So one of the ways that this showed up in my athletic career is that I was I'll just tell the full story. I was trying to rush, but I was working out. I was a defensive lineman in college, which means that I was, for those of you who don't know football, I was one of the fatter guys. Okay. One of the bigger guys. And I was 260 pounds most of the times. And then my highest weight was 275 pounds. And I would work out with other people around that similar size. And when we do our running, our conditioning drills, and we had to run sprints, I would run with all the bigger guys, even though I had the speed of the smaller guys on the team. And I should have ran with them where they had less time to complete the same distance of a sprint. Okay. And because I didn't want to run with the group who I was supposed to be running with and actually push myself and crack my potential, I would instead run with the big guys, and I would fake like I was giving it more effort than what I actually was. And I never forget, like, all of these practices, being in the front of all of the linemen and all of the coaches yelling at the linemen who were like throwing up and like and like crying about how much we had to run, and the coaches being like, look at Stinson, look at his work ethic, look at him finishing through the line, look at what he's doing, like go hustle like Stinson, look at his work ethic. They were giving me all types of awards for like gridiron gang and stuff. Matter of fact, do I have a picture? I got a picture somewhere. I'm gonna show you a picture. I got a picture when I won like weight room warrior, from like just how I was pushing myself and strength and conditioning and all this stuff. And can I tell y'all a secret? What they didn't know is that I was coasting. I was not pushing myself to my full potential. I was coasting, and they didn't know it. Lesson: never settle for other people's applause of you. Never let their applause become your standard. Make the game of your unfoldment. Make the game of your potential, unwrapping all of who you are, revealing all of who you are, your actual game. And that's not what I did. I should have been running with the smaller running group, but since I didn't want to be perceived in my mess, I didn't want people to see me struggling, I decided to coast. I decided to accept their applause of how I was performing rather than really push my potential and see what was really inside of me, see how great of an athlete I could become. And I carried that pattern into my business, in my life, in my relationships, never really being as romantic as I could be, lest I failed to sustain that level of intimacy. In my career, my speaking career, never really giving it all I got because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to sustain that. Like, once you become a certain level of a communicator to people, someone who has done 2 million view TED Talk, that becomes the new standard that people expect. They don't, when they come and listen to me speak, they're not expecting the average Joe or Jane to do this. They're expecting something exceptional. And it was like, I would shrink, like, oh, I can't live up to that expectation. Oh no. Let me just like do something safe. Let me do something cute. Let me do something small. But last week I cracked it open, baby. Let's go. Type let's go in the chat if you're ready to crack your ceiling open, if you're ready to stop the perpetual cycles of self-sabotage, and you're actually ready to break it through. So one of the things that I did, write this down, is I turned it up when I felt like turning it down. Write that down. Turn it up when you feel like turning it down. A lot of times when you're starting to push the edge of your unfoldment, when you're starting to push the edge of your development, when you're starting to push the edge of your potential, you can have a tendency to start cooling it down, to start playing it safe, to start coasting, because you want to feel safe. You don't want to step into the unknown. You want to step into who you really are and who you really could be. And so instead of turning it up, you kind of turn it down a little bit. And you'll have all the excuses. Oh, I'm busy. I'm overwhelmed. I got all this stuff to do. Your mind will find excuses. Can I tell you, my mind is a master at finding excuses to not unfold, to not reach my full potential. And so last week, when I was doing these live streams, I did a couple, and I was like, oh, I can feel it. I can feel my potential unfolding. I can feel me pushing my edge. And then I was going to like turn it down. I was going to turn it down. Thank you. Turn it up when you feel like turning it down. Absolutely. Write that down. And I was turning it down just a little bit. And then I was like, you know what? No, this is the ceiling again. This is the same pattern. I did this in high school. I did this in college. I've been doing this in my relationships. I've been doing this in my career. I've been doing this in my speaking passion. I've been doing it some ways in my coaching. But no. I am so tired of hitting my head on the same ceiling. If I'm going to hit my head on a ceiling, I want to hit a new ceiling. I want to have different problems. I don't want to have a new year with the same problems. And so instead of turning it down, y'all, sorry for yelling on the other platform, Instagram, y'all probably like this. Y'all can hear me better. The other platforms are like, stop blowing out the microphone. But I turned it up instead of turning it down. And guess what happened? Boom. Ooh, that ceiling became a floor. That ceiling became a floor. And I tell you what, I was in a new arena. I'm like, okay, this is the new normal now. This is not a fad. This is not a trend. This is not a thing where I did a diet for 3 days and I'm going to go back to my old eating habits. This is the new, let's go. This is type new normal in the chat. This is a new normal for me. This standard that you've been seeing, this level of expression that you've been seeing, this level of commitment and leadership that you've been seeing is not a fad. It's not for show. This is a game within myself that I'm doing to unwrap my full potential, to surrender to God in my life, to do the things that I'm called to do and stop holding back because of my fear. Turning it up, creating a new normal, hashtag new normal in the chat. That's the first thing I did. And then yesterday, I'm on the run on this one. Yesterday, I was feeling it. I was, I was like, oh God, there, opened it up. I got people hit me up, filling out my applications. I got applications for my speaking program coming in. I'm like, oh God, here comes the gang. Here comes the people. Like they've been waiting for me. Like, let's go, let's do it. Then I'm like, a better team, more quality operations, more consistency in my streaming. The normal, the I felt like I was not strong enough internally to handle the normal. I got 3 kids, 3 girls, and a baby boy on the way. I've got these amount of traveling gigs. I got these amount of clients. Like, here I am at the same point, like about to wrestle with the fear. Like I stepped through it, right? That ceiling's the floor, but it's like I was getting ready to dig a hole and climb back through to the basement of my life, to the bottom of my potential, versus to continue to unfold and push my edge. And so what did I do? I did what I know to do, y'all. I went to scripture. I opened up Nehemiah. I told y'all, you watch my little streams. I was doing Nehemiah. I'm going to read to you Nehemiah chapter number 1. What do you go to? What do you turn to? Who do you turn to? How do you work through your own resistance? Okay. I believe cultivating our connection, our relationship with God is one of the best ways to do that. So I went to scripture, Nehemiah chapter 6, and I'm going to read verse 9 to you. And we're gonna sign off because my wife's waiting for me to go to breakfast. Number 9, they were all trying to frighten us, thinking their hands will get too weak for the work and it will not be completed. And this is what Nehemiah said. He said, but, this is good. But I prayed, now strengthen my hands. Now strengthen my hands. And can I tell you, when I read that, knowing the context of the scripture, that he was about that work, he was doing the Father's business, he was rebuilding the wall, he was getting haters talking about him, he had warfare going around, people were threatening to kill him, his people were working on, his employees were about to blow, not his employees, his team was about to burn out. He got all these people committing to him and following him to rebuild this wall, and here comes another person with another message, and his hands are getting weak because they were working around the clock, and he said, strengthen my hands. And I dropped that Bible and I prayed that prayer and I said, God, strengthen my hands. Give me the strength. Give me the strength. Give me the internal strength, the emotional strength, the spiritual fortitude to stand in this new level, to stand in this new arena. And I felt it. I felt a little strengthening. I felt a little inspiration. I felt strong enough, watch this, to take the next step. Now write that in the chat. Take the next step. And I took the next step. I showed up to the call. I took the coaching call. I had the sales conversation. And can I tell you, cracked it open, brought on a new client, served my current level of clients, created training, like just continue to rip it. Just continue to rip it. Why? Because it wasn't my strength anymore. Boom, 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 boom. Y'all don't understand how good this feels. Wasn't my strength anymore. Was a strength beyond my own. Was a strength beyond my own, which, by the way, is what psychologically I was really afraid of. Because when you are in a strength beyond your own, you are in an unfoldment beyond your control. When you are operating in a strength beyond that which is your own, you are in a divine unfoldment beyond your control. And I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to control it. What I told myself was a fear of lack of willingness to, or consistency to be able to sustain that level of performance, was really a fear of, can I control what people are going to think of me? Can I control how I'm going to feel about myself? Can I control where this unfoldment is headed? And no, I can't control it, y'all. But that's good, because if it's out of my control, at least I have strength that's outside of my current strength. If you give everything you got, God will give you everything you don't got. And that's what I like. So I trust that this helps you today. If you're looking to crack your ceiling, the ceiling of your potential, I want you to remember that prayer of Nehemiah, to strengthen your hands, to give you that strength. I want you to turn it up where you feel like turning it down. And then I want you to have fun in the process, because this should be fun. We should enjoy this. Remember what I said on my last live stream, that the process that we go through to achieve our goals is not a means to an end. It's a gift within itself. Okay. So go out there, live out your full potential today, crack that ceiling. Drop in the comments if you took anything away from this. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. If this benefited you in any way, do me a favor, share it on the other platforms. Freely as you receive, freely you should give. Okay. So there's no should, okay, but I'm asking you to give if you receive. All right. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Peace. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I love it. I love the engagement. Let's go. Let's go.